We're at Future Net World 2024 in London. I'm here with Mark Duesener. He is EVP of Mobile Networks and Services at Swisscom. Mark, thanks so much for joining us today, for giving us your time. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Let's start with Swisscom's relationship with the public cloud companies. To what extent are you working with the AWS's, Google Cloud Platform, Microsoft Azure? What role do they play in your strategy?
I think it was roughly 3 years ago when we decided that we want to engage in strategic partnerships with one of them, and we decided for AWS. So from then onwards, we started our joint journey. And I always like to emphasize working with the hyperscale is not about just changing an infrastructure to run services, applications on top. That is really in changing the way of working, once again, and secondly, tapping into an innovation ecosystem. I think the innovation ecosystem of the IT network and whatever industry in the past have been the hyperscalers and everything around that. And therefore, I think it's a must-have to be part of that ecosystem. And therefore, we started this strategic initiative and partnership, and we're embracing it right now.
So how is that manifesting itself in the way that you are developing your operations? Are you running sort of analytics with AWS? Are you shifting OSS and BSS functions onto AWS platform? Is any of that happening?
That is our strategy, and we started that strategy. So we started with the basic fundamentals, right? So we early on, or as a prerequisite, decided we will not do a lift and shift, that every application that goes onto public cloud will have to be redesigned to really make use of the cloud native principles. And the same applied on data. So we said, yes, the data growth is immense. We don't want to invest in a team managing infrastructure, a team managing tools, where, let's say, all of that is there as a service. And therefore, our strategy is to go there. But we looked into how do we deal with compliance, how do we deal with data sovereignty, and really implemented that. So not only as, let's say, a set of rules or set of governance, but really implemented the governance into tools.
And where are you in this kind of evolution of OSS and BSS? Is this something that you're working with your vendor partners now on evolving the tools that you need and that you need to evolve?
We are, and it's a mixture, right? It's partially the vendors, it's partially in-house. For example, looking to 5G SA, so our first big, let's say, large-scale deployment of cloud network functions. The orchestration of it, we didn't find anything on the market that suits our needs. So we started to develop it on our own, based on open source tools that were available. And in other cases, yes, we embrace tools from the hyperscalers and others to really make use of the new capabilities and changing the working mode, the operational model.
Okay. So has this really sort of broadened the scope of tools and platforms and partners that you can work with now, as opposed to previously in terms of the management and the BSS capability?
I think it's not a quick run, right? It's not a sprint. It's more a marathon, hopefully not a marathon, but definitely a longer haul. But I strongly believe that this change of environment, and mainly the change of the ecosystem, will lead to a more heterogeneous vendor landscape. Yes, and therefore we need to be prepared, right? We need to have different skills in order to manage that.
Well, it sounds like you're laying the right foundations to be able to enable that rather than going the other way around. So finally, in terms of where Swisscom is right now, and given what you've said, what do you need most from the vendor community that would help you right now? What can they bring to your table that would help to make you accelerate your strategy in a positive way?
I think this journey that I laid out, roughly sketched, isn't a Swisscom journey. This is an industry journey. And means on that journey we will make mistakes, we will fail, but we need to walk along jointly. We need to explore jointly, we need to fail jointly with our peers as well as jointly with our vendors. It doesn't serve as if someone is, let's say, the lonely wolf that will not survive, right? But we need to move. And that will disrupt business models and we create new ones. Even that is something we need to do jointly.
And do you feel that that's more possible now than it might have been 5 years ago? Do you get a sense that there's a greater sharing of knowledge and insight and greater collaboration within the community these days?
Definitely. I think we already learned quite a bit. I mean, on the journey that I described, right? For example, on the orchestration part, we deliberately took a break of, I think it was 8 months, because we saw, okay, in a certain aspect, there's so many movements in the industry, let's wait to consolidate. And once we saw consolidation happening, we moved on again. And I think it's not about technology. Technology is there. We could exploit it today. It's about us. It's about people. We need to get accustomed to it. We need to understand it before we can embrace it. And that takes time. But I believe taking the time really makes that more sustainable than rushing.
Well, Mark, thanks so much for joining us today. Great to hear about what Swisscom is doing and look forward to chatting with you again in the future.
We will. Thank you.